Hey everybody, welcome back to Cinema Scrutiny. Today we are hitting the final five movies in the entire MCU coming onto our ranking list to create the ultimate, as of today, list for the MCU, which will be destroyed in like 2 months when Black Widow comes out.
Yes,
I'm John. I am, as always, joined by Billy. Billy, are you ready to finish this?
absolutely. I think we have a solid list so far.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Others may disagree, but it is a subjective topic. So that's what
Yeah, definitely
that's what it
some
is.
some blowback on the last episode for our Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 take.
That's okay.
Yeah,
That is
it
all right.
does happen.
We have
So,
some. It rounds out very nicely in the second half here, Phase
mhm.
3. So we're getting into the big climactic. I don't want to say ending, but
The
cliff
ending of
top.
the
I call it
Infinity
that.
Saga.
Yes, yes.
All right, so let's just jump into it. The first film on our list is 2018's Avengers Infinity War. Obviously, the first like big get together for the entire squad coming into the Endgame here. What are your thoughts on this one? I mean, obviously we'll talk about Endgame later, but just talking about this one.
I think Infinity War is. I think it has continued to stay at like the peak that it had like when it first came out. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's diminished at all. I feel like, and we'll talk about more when we get to Endgame, but I feel like Endgame has diminished a little bit in some people's eyes, um, as far as like certain plot things and the direction they took. Um, but I think Infinity War as a whole is like all around just like a really solid get together of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even though the universe itself is kind of like split pretty evenly. There's like two separate teams, I guess you could say.
Yeah, two or three.
Um, yeah, but I think that they're really well balanced teams, and everyone seems to fill the shoes of their role really nicely in each spot.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest downfall of the movie, well, some people say it was like, I feel like Star Lord took a turn here just because he's kind of like the reason the whole plan went south.
Sure, yeah.
I've heard a lot of people say like Star Lord ruined everything, um, which is true. I mean, you can't really deny that, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, I felt like he was justified in the moment. I understood his emotions.
Yeah, his character definitely makes sense in why he's doing the things he does. I mean, obviously he is like the reason that they don't, or possibly the reason. I don't think they would have been able to get him anyway.
Right.
But for me, this one I like it. I personally think this one's the one that's diminished for me a little bit over time. Like I
Okay.
feel like the whole Nidavellir plot point of having to go build the axe taking up literally the entire movie. I
Yeah.
didn't really think it was super interesting. Like I get why we had to go do it, but I don't know if it needed to take as long and like become such a plot point. But
Yeah.
obviously, Chris Hemsworth needs like a weapon, and he needs a reason to go get a weapon, I guess. So it kind of needs to be done.
Right.
But I don't know. I just
They
thought it was a little too much.
they really gave Thor his own like arc in like this entire movie. Like he has his own like situation basically.
Yeah.
Everyone else is kind of like bogged down in like the group or their group as a whole. But I think everyone got like all the people that needed an upgrade or got an upgrade. I think it all felt really good. Like Doctor Strange powers are fantastic.
Yeah.
The Iron Spider suit is sick. The new Tony suit is great. Cap is like a totally different. Well, not like totally different, but like his character has shifted drastically since he's on the run, and
Yeah. The
his
beard
team.
is sick.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. It's all pretty cool. Like, and I feel like the fights in this are like the most epic out of all the stuff in the universe. Um, it really, and the whole cliffhanger it ends on too is also really great. I like a good cliffhanger that we could have expected it, but at the same time, it feels right when it happens.
Yeah. Definitely does not pull its punches on the ending there.
Yeah,
I
and it
remember
felt really
working at
good.
the theater. Tons of people like there was a girl who wouldn't stop crying that Spider Man was dead. She's like
Yeah,
freaking out, like a 16-year-old, just like Tom Holland wanted like.
Yeah,
Stan. It was terrible.
it was a big deal. I remember being in the theater too, and people were freaking out at the time. It's like, you know, people who like didn't know that was. I mean, like we didn't. I guess like really close like comic readers probably knew that was gonna happen. Like I
Mm,
kind of suspected it was gonna go down that way, but uh, the general audience, I think it really shocked people, and it was a moment. It was definitely a moment.
yeah.
This and Endgame definitely both felt like a moment in time that you could remember back to. It was just an iconic theater experience, I would say.
Hmm.
Oh, um, I don't know. As far as a rating, I'd probably say it's a 9.
That's what I was thinking too. I feel
Yeah,
like nine's a good place, great place to put it.
yeah,
It's very, it is good. You know, maybe it's just time. I really don't remember being in the theater that much for this one. Like I remember the scenes very clearly. And
yeah,
granted, you know what? Actually, I think I because when I used to work at that movie theater, we just saw things like at midnight, and I think we did that.
yeah.
Uh,
I think we did too.
so it was like a private screening that was pretty good because like that, and we'll get to it later with Endgame. But when we saw Endgame, we were in Montreal with a it was a theater that sat like 600 people,
Yeah, it
and
was
like
huge.
that was insanity. Like
Yeah.
that, I more vividly remember. But anyway, let's put them up on the board. I'm going to add Infinity War. Infinity War, I can spell. All right. So Infinity War being a 9 jumps it all the way up to number 5 by default. Without even asking your permission, I'm going to throw it above the original Avengers.
Yes.
I'm
I.
thinking. I'm thinking we jump over Black Panther too while we're here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now we are at Civil War. Is it Civil War levels of good? I'm thinking yeah.
Yeah. I think it's better than Civil War.
Okay. Now we're at the top. Now we're at the top of the nines. Is it better than the Winter Soldier being the number one?
See, this is tough.
See, this is where we're at. This is the problem.
Because it's. I don't want to compare the two because they're not really comparable. I guess you could say. Um,
Yeah, in a perfect
I'm.
world, they're not, but in this video where we're comparing things,
Yeah. It's. I want to say like Winter Soldier as a movie is better, but
you're probably right. I mean, obviously, the problem with Infinity War is also that it doesn't tell a complete story on purpose.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it is like this two-part film, so it's hard to, because I do agree the Winter Soldier is like a much better film, I guess. But if you had the context of Endgame,
Right.
if you had the completion of Endgame, do you feel like Infinity War does better?
I think. Mm,
For me, I think it's kind of like the argument between, like the original Super Smash Brothers game and Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, where there's like, there's 50 characters or I think 100 fucking characters now. They're like in the 80s, I think.
yeah.
Uh, and when everybody's in it, it kind of doesn't feel as special. You know what I mean? Like you don't really get the time to like invest in all the characters.
Right.
And granted, that's the trade off you have for having everyone. But I feel like investing in the characters, like 9 times out of 10, I think I'd rather get like a smaller focused movie than like the big Avengers blowout. So I'm going to keep Winter Soldier at number one, I think.
I think you're right. I think it's a good point. There's definitely more like as a whole character development with Captain America. Um, and I think Infinity War in a lot of ways it's very much like I would describe it as like a theme park ride experience.
Yeah.
It's a nonstop
Oh,
kind of roller coaster
is that
of
a
just
Martin
epic.
Scorsese quote?
Is that what he said?
I'm
I can't
pretty.
remember.
He said it in like a derogatory way. He was like, "It's not
Right.
cinema. It's like a roller coaster or like a theme park
Yeah,
ride."
I actually remember that now. I
Yeah.
wasn't trying to quote him, but I think
No,
that's an
because
accurate description
yeah,
of the experience because it really is like there's no breaks. We're just going.
yeah. There's
Um,
like no time to
but
talk about anything.
the benefit of that is every turn we're gonna take because we've all experienced these characters before, and it's like the benefit of the shared universe.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree. It's like what you get with like earlier or later seasons of a show. Like you don't really need to explain the character motivations anymore because you just know them, so you can really
exactly.
just deal with the plot.
exactly. So I
Yeah.
I would agree. I think Winter Soldier just beats it out in that aspect.
Yeah.
There's more breathing room for the characters.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. All right, we are going to jump quickly, trying to keep this video short for anyone who wants to view it. And we are going to go to Ant-Man and the Wasp, which
Oh,
is,
brother.
so Infinity War happens, right? And then we just take a completely violent left turn into the past, like a couple months before, or like basically right before Infinity War happens. And
Yeah.
we meet up with
It's kind of in
Scotland.
sync with like the timeline, I guess.
Yeah, I would
Uh,
say it's like basically as those 2 hours in the movie are happening, these 2 hours are happening.
Pretty much, which is kind of crazy because it's like universal epic events matched with this little uh quantum heist movie type of thing
Mm-hmm.
going on. Uh, which I think the Ant-Man series when the first Ant-Man movie came out, I really we talked about it before, but I think I really liked the integration of the heist aspect to the franchise that they're going with
Yeah,
for
it was a
Ant-Man.
great framing around what they
Right.
were doing.
I think this one kind of I don't want to say it got away from it. Well, it did kind of get away from it. I mean, the heist itself is like we're gonna rescue Michelle Pfeiffer's character.
Yeah,
Um,
Mrs. Pym.
yes, Mrs. Pym. We're gonna rescue her from the quantum realm, but it kind of develops into. If I remember correctly, the plot kind of develops into that as they are going after the ghost character, the villain.
Yeah, like
Uh,
it just kind of they stumble into the fact that they can find. I want to say her name is Janet Pym, but probably not.
yes, I think you're right.
It is. Her name is Janet Van Dyne.
Okay, there you go. Um, but I think this movie kind of has an issue with uh, the villain is never really set center as far as like where they're at. I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
the ghost character is there, but I feel like there's not really that much development for her.
Yeah, and also the ghost. It's like she's not even. She feels much more like a tragic villain. Like she's not even really a villain. It's just she is like losing
Right.
control of what's happening to her.
Sure. And
So
then like we find out the real villain is like the original Giant Man, which is Lawrence Fishburne, I think.
yeah, which is a waste of Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the movie was also lacking some action stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the whole car chase thing where they like make I remember like the Pez container comes out and they make it big and
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was cool. Like they have like little they
Callbacks.
make yeah, they make good callbacks and uses of the powers. Um I think Wasp was really sick in this movie. I think she carried the action sequences
Yeah.
heavy where she was. But I think the third act I remember the third act was like Ant Man becomes Giant Man in like the water
Yeah, and
and
he's
he like
like running around like downtown, like San Francisco.
yeah, he like picks up the ferry or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
It
just
just
remember
kind
the
of
third
falls
act.
apart.
Yeah, it just wasn't there. Like, I think, and I am excited for the third movie in the series. I
Mm-hmm.
think, and I do think that Ant Man, as the franchise is a bit underrated.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, you
but I
got
think
that.
this second movie definitely missed the mark in a lot of ways, where it didn't reach the highs of the first movie, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, I think
But
it's just like painfully average. Like I feel like we have these great actors.
yeah,
I really like Paul Rudd. Fucking, what's the older man's name? I'm trying to find him on the list here.
Michael Scott.
Michael
No,
Douglas.
Michael Douglas. Michael Scott.
Michael
Paper
Scott's
guy.
a paper. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just feels like they're underused. You know what I mean? And I like now, especially getting Michelle Pfeiffer in as like I believe she is going to be one of the main characters in 3 or in
Yeah.
Quantumania or whatever they go with. I'm really excited for the setup, but like this one, it's not even that it was like bad. It was just like so painfully, And
Average.
granted, yeah, a lot of people say that the MCU can become very paint by numbers.
Hmm.
And I think that if you're a fan of the films, you can definitely see like all of the differences inside it. Like even though they're all Marvel movies, they're all like in their own separate subgenre, chasms, right? Like a
Sure.
heist movie or like a spy thriller or like blah blah blah. This one just really does feel like MCU paint by numbers. Like this is just painful.
Yeah, I
Um,
would agree.
but like I don't know. Like even saying that, I'm thinking it's like a five for me, which is like it's average. Like that's just what a five is out of 10.
Hmm.
But it's painfully average. Like,
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I was
yeah,
also thinking of five.
yeah. It's not like because I don't know. Like I do feel like we're kind of like hating on it, but like it wasn't a bad movie when I saw it.
No,
And
it's definitely not a bad movie. It's just uh it is the definition of the Marvel cookie cutter movie,
yeah, that's
you
what it
know.
does feel like. We also
It
do get
hits all the
a
marks and it just follows the formula.
yeah, we do get Jimmy Woo here though, and he learns this card trick that comes back later.
That's true. There were
So
some funny moments.
there is character development in this film.
Oh, definitely.
All
Yeah, yeah.
right, I am gonna put Ant Man and the Wasp on the list. Uh, okay, so the bottom of the list here is a little murky. I'm gonna throw it above Guardians. I'm gonna throw it above the Hulk. I'm gonna throw it above Thor: The Dark World.
Okay.
We're just kind of like the star counts aren't lining up here like they do kind of towards the top.
Yes.
Iron Man 3. I'm thinking this movie, in my personal opinion, is better than Iron Man 3, but I hate Iron Man 3.
I don't think it's better than Iron Man 3.
All my homies hate Iron Man 3.
I would watch Iron Man 3 before I'd watch this movie.
Wow.
100%.
I'm so sorry that you have to live like that.
I just there yeah, like there's just more exciting stuff going on in Iron Man 3.
Sure.
And maybe it's a product of the characters as a whole, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that one, fam.
I wouldn't watch either of these movies, so I guess I can agree with you.
Yeah, like we're at the bottom of the list, realistically.
Yeah. Hmm. I really hate that kid with the potato gun. All right, whatever. Fucking come on. You don't. Okay, hold up. My last chance. Do you think that the Wasp combat scenes are better than the Iron Man 3 fight scenes?
Uh, no. There's way cooler shit going on in the Iron Man 3 fight scenes.
There isn't.
There is. The last fight with Aldrich Killian is better, where he's like switching between suits. The fight where Tony has to escape the compound, where he has just his hand and like a gun, way fucking cooler. Uh,
I don't think that suit scene at the. I feel like that suit scene at the end is so stupid.
you gotta watch it again.
Why does
It's
he have
better.
too many suits? I don't like it. I get it. He's just bored, but I'm
It
not.
was it was pre Ultron. He's
Yeah,
probably got a million suits,
he's just
but
fucking
then he
around.
blows them all up at the end. I think.
Well,
I
he
think
blows them all up in that fight. He just wastes them.
right,
I
but
mean,
the
like,
whole sequence where he's on like the what's it called, like the rafters of that like crane,
mhm.
and like he's jumping from suit to suit, and like half the time he's out of his suit and he's gotta like call one in and it gets there just in time. It's cool shit. It's cool.
Yeah, but you
It's
see,
fun.
the Wasp runs on a knife that's being thrown at her.
Name something else that happens in that scene besides her running on the knife.
Then she punches somebody.
Oh, okay, you got
Holy.
me
She
there.
probably hit somebody with a giant table salt. I feel like I remember that happening.
Shoot, yeah. I mean, I don't know. That's like the most popular scene of that movie, probably.
Yeah, there's really no other fight scene that I can think of.
The other fight scene is like the car chase scene. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah. All right, you got me. I only remember that one scene from the movie. That was in the
Yep.
trailer. All right. Speaking of movies no one really remembers. Next is Captain Marvel.
Oh, this is a controversial one, kind
Yeah.
of. A
It's a
little bit.
tough one. For what it's worth, Brie Larson does kill it. She's very good.
I
I
think she's good too. I know
yeah,
that it's a lot of hate for Brie Larson in this role,
yeah,
and I think the majority of it is uncalled for.
yeah. I
Uh,
agree.
I think a lot of it, you know, you could trace it back to the writing of the character. It's not her fault. She's acting it great, you know.
Hmm.
Um, but I think this movie also kind of falls in the same problems that Ant-Man and the Wasp has, where
Hmm.
it's very much Marvel formula type of product
Yeah,
at
I
the end of the day.
agree. It definitely
Uh,
does feel kind of like it doesn't really find its own unique angle in any direction on the universe.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like unique to her in any certain way either.
Hmm.
Uh, the, I mean, the space elements of Marvel are kind of riddled with the James Gunn influence in some ways.
Yeah.
I I think here with the Nova Corps, it gets a little bit more serious, but not by much.
Yeah.
Um, and then the whole Nick Fury is like the sidekick character in this. He gets like de-aged.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that was okay. It was fine. I like Sam Jackson, and I like his character. Um, what did you think of the outcome with Goose the cat, where he like that's the reason he loses his eye? He's scratched by like the alien cat, which
You
is also
know,
not.
I feel like you just gotta eventually, when you build up some mythos about anything, there's gonna be no satisfying ending to it. So
Hmm.
you just kind of gotta bite the bullet and just do something. And I think just doing something quick and not, not having to worry about it too much
Yeah,
is just kind of fun. I think you could also have just gotten away with not doing it at all, and then you could get back to it later.
yeah,
I kind of think it's funny. I think it's funny that he hypes it up as like, because he portrays himself in the future as like this stone cold crazy, you know,
he's seen it
basically,
all.
yeah, but he really hasn't. Like, he's really like, I think between like especially in this movie, has very much no fucking idea what's going on, and he's like really just
Yeah,
figuring everything out for the first time and flying by the seat of his pants. And I
yeah, it
think
does seem
that
that way to an extent, for
yeah,
sure.
and I will say the same thing I said about Thor losing his eye in Ragnarok, but Odin loses his eye as the price for all knowledge, and I'm not saying I'm saying Sam Jackson learned a couple of things in this movie. And if you learn about, the entire cosmic universe of civilization, I think you have to pay a price. And
Yeah,
Coulson also later pays with his life. So
unfortunately, yeah.
yeah, it was cool to see him back too, though.
Yeah, it was nice to see. It was nice to see both of them.
Yeah,
They both, they are their characters, and it doesn't feel like they got developed too much, but it feels more like these guys are here, and they're kind of in their prime,
yeah,
but they're also not. There's nothing much more impressive about them.
yeah. I agree. I think the
Um,
big thing with this movie is like wasted potential on the villain. I think
oh,
that
that too.
Jude Law
Yeah,
is a really great actor, and it just like he never really gets a chance to do anything super crazy. And
yeah,
granted, for a while there, Ben Mendelsohn, like Talos, is kind of the bad guy because like these scrolls are framed in that direction from
yep,
her like understanding of the world. And he honestly like he feels like a better bad guy until he's not the bad guy.
yeah. I kind of wish. What's his name? Ronan, the uh,
The
the dude with
accuser.
the hammer. Yeah, I kind of wish he was the villain again,
Yeah.
because he's way more of like an imposing villain just from the first Guardians movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that would have been a lot more interesting of a fight for her,
Yeah.
especially compared to Jude Law's character, who he didn't get much of like a power set to deal with hers. Um, and I think in some ways the scrolls, to me, in a lot of ways, have been a disappointment, just because I think I don't know too much about them, so I can't. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like they're a lot more villainous in the books. And here they're kind of making them out to be more like anti-hero type of, uh, you know, walk the line of good and bad.
Well,
Which I don't know.
in this one, I think they just flipped the script on what they normally are. Because in the comic books, they are more like directly involved in staging attacks on Earth and the secret invasion and all that.
Right?
But here, they're just refugees. They're
Yeah,
they're fleeing from the Kree, which are normally the good guys, which now are the bad guys.
that's
So
true.
it's really hard to tell right now where the universe is going with it. I agree this movie doesn't do much to actually set that up in any meaningful direction.
Hmm.
But hopefully, like, I would assume that Secret Wars would be the next thing that actually fleshes that out, or
Yeah,
Captain Marvel 2, depending.
yeah. We're gonna have to see. I think this was, like I said, very average. But it was also just like a base level introduction to all these characters.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them definitely needed more of a base level introduction, aka Captain Marvel, just because uh, her role. that she has in Endgame, which is the next time we see her, is kind of kind of important.
Yeah.
Or at least she hypes herself up to be important. And just based off her movie, it's like, mm, I don't know. Like,
Yeah, I think that she definitely, especially as a character that is most likely going to become like a center point of any Avengers film going forward,
yeah,
I feel like she really needs to assert that dominance in like a better way.
yeah. I
You know?
think it just it feels a little forced, like her dominance of like I'm the strongest out of everybody here. It's like, but we just met you, like, and I don't believe you.
Yeah, there's not any good showcase in this movie, but also you can't really jump a gun with like putting the strongest thing in the universe before like in this film. You know what I mean?
Sure,
Like, I agree that maybe Ronan would have been cooler, but I think they wanted to very much stay away from villains that were already in the universe because then you just know that like Ronan would never actually like nothing would happen to him because he shows up 40 20 years later.
it's true.
Or like same thing with like they could have done a young Thanos or like a
Yeah, that's
slightly
fair.
younger Thanos. I don't actually remember. I really don't know how old he is. He's probably a couple hundred years old for some reason. Uh,
Yeah,
but they could have done that. But then also, obviously framing that between Infinity War and Endgame, which really no movie should have been between these two films.
yeah,
There's no good place to do that. You know what I mean? Like there's just it's bad timing. It's bad.
yeah. It definitely. I think so too. It was
Yeah.
awkward timing for this to come out,
I am
but
very excited though for the future of this. Like I'm excited to get Photon in there. I'm
yeah,
excited to get some more
I'm
Endgame
ex-
Brie Larson because I think
I'm
Endgame Captain Marvel is like cooler.
definitely. She definitely feels more comfortable with her powers, and it. I think I'm hoping they're gonna give her a villain that can really give her a challenge because I feel like she suffers from kind of the Superman problem of there's only so many villains that you could put up against her where it actually feels like a challenge or we're actually gonna get a cool fight.
Yeah.
Because that is a big part of these superhero movies in a way. It's like we want to see the cool fight and all that, and this movie definitely lacked that in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
interested for the future, but average at best here.
Yeah. I'm thinking a five again.
Yeah,
It's
I think
like
so too.
it's average. It's just not as painful. I would dare to put this above Ant-Man and the Wasp. I think this was more.
You think Ant-Man and the Wasp is better than this?
No, no. I think this is better than Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Okay, I think so too, but I
Yeah.
don't think it's better than Iron Man 3.
I'm gonna beat the shit out of you.
You're
Everything
not,
is better than Iron Man 3.
Iron Man 3 is being held up on my word here. I'll tell you what. Again, same argument. There's way more interesting shit going on in Iron Man 3 than in here. Way more.
Yeah. It just bothers me. Like I remember Iron Man 3 a lot and I know we've been talking about it, but it really is the same thing. Like there's no standout moment from Captain Marvel where it's like that's the scene.
Yeah, it's
It's like I
true.
remember the blockbuster opening and then I remember like her breaking out of like weird space handcuffs and beating up a bunch of fucking aliens.
Yeah, it's like nothing. There's no memorable moment. It's like okay.
Yeah. All right.
So
Well, we're going to keep moving. We're going to now jump to the end of it all, which is Avengers Endgame,
yes,
which is a great film. I love this film.
fantastic. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, so we were talking about Infinity War, and I really wish we could have talked about the two of them together, but given our format choices,
Mm,
we kind of got fucked on it. Where Infinity War, we were talking about the fact like one of the bigger problems is when you have everybody involved, there's not really a lot of time for character development or like moving like the character driven stories forward in a meaningful way.
hmm
I think this movie does that extremely well. And granted, we got rid of half the people,
That's true.
so
More
like
than
it's a
half.
lot easier. But and this is a complaint that I think a lot of people bring up when, or at least a lot of people that have complaints about this film. is that there's not really that much action in this film compared to like Infinity War or any of the other Avengers movies.
Sure.
But I love that. Like I just like there's so much time to talk about it.
Yeah.
I enjoy the dialogue. Like, you know, you talked about it even last episode or 2 episodes ago. We've been sprinkling in Endgame and Infinity War content throughout this entire thing. But the scene where, you know, Tony and Cap are having the debate after Tony comes back and he's like, you know, we were supposed to be a team. You said that. You said we were going to win together or lose together, and we lost.
Yep.
And like, just great scenes.
It's
Like,
fantastic. I think everyone gets an incredible acting moment here.
yeah, I
Like
agree.
the entire original crew, everyone gets their moment of uh, just like it felt like the Russo brothers gave them their moment and said, you know, this is your moment to really flex your acting
Mm-hmm.
because half y'all are gonna be out of here after this one. So go get, you know, show off your talents. And you know, Tony got that scene. I think Cap, you know, got multiple chances. I love his moment in uh, the therapy circle in the beginning
Mm.
where he's kind of coaching people through and like who better than Cap to be standing there and saying, you know, you got to pick up the pieces and move on. Like
Yeah.
I lost 70 years and I woke up like it was the next day.
I
And I
lose everything that matters to me all the time.
yeah, it's just like it's so tragic, but
Yeah.
it's so real. You know, it's I've heard a lot of people describe this movie as the Marvel victory lap,
Mm.
and I think that's true in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Um, and granted, there are less action scenes, but I think the final action scene of the Marvel Trinity coming together was great. Um, I love Thor's redemption arc. I love I love everyone. I think everyone works out really well.
Yeah.
Um, I I think I think Hulk got a little goofy,
I
but
love Smart Hulk.
I think Smart Hulk's cool, but I feel like he's weaker.
Oh, he
Um,
totally is, but he's dope. Like, it's not about being the strong Hulk. It's about being fucking Mark Ruffalo.
yeah,
You
he's
know?
definitely the funniest he's ever been in this movie.
Yeah.
100%.
But,
He
like,
becomes a different
genuinely,
comedic relief.
think about this for a second. Edward Norton doesn't leave the role. Smart
Yeah.
Hulk would look so fucking gross.
Oh God, yeah, he would not look good at all.
Like Mark
Yeah.
Ruffalo just captures it perfectly, I think. And it's just, you know, I think if there was less interesting content, I wouldn't like it as much. Like if it was, you know, because it is lacking fighting, let's be honest, which is something that a lot of people like. But I
Yeah.
think that this movie makes up for it a lot in just interesting victory lap style content. Like
Yeah.
going back, you know, going back in time to some of the most important moments of the MCU, and you know, like seeing that the ancient one, the Sorcerer Supreme, was actually helping the fight during the original Avengers movie. Like
Yep.
that was sick. Going back and doing the Hail Hydra, Cap v Cap,
Yep.
like oh, it really is. Like it's fan service, but I'm here. Like I'm ready. Like
Yeah.
it's
It's
sick.
well paid off fan service
Yeah,
because realistically they do fan service in every movie, but this is like the peak of that. It's like this is 10 years in the making,
yeah.
over 10 years. Um and and I you know, I actually watched this movie recently,
Mm.
about a month ago or something, and I watched the first scene with the. I remember the first scene with the Smart Hulk in the diner.
Yeah.
It's so funny to this day, where he's like talking to the kids, and he's just like, "Take a picture with him. Take a picture with him." Like, and they're just like, "Nah, nah, nah, nah. I don't want to take a picture with that man." And he's like, "Come on, he's right here." Like, the whole thing is so funny because he's just so oblivious. Like, I remember I was losing it like
Yeah.
by myself. Like there are really good. It's really good stuff in here, uh, just all around. You know, when everyone comes back, it's sick. Um,
Oof, that assemble.
the assemble, it finally happened. I remember before we went into the theater to see this, you were like, if Cap doesn't say Avengers Assemble, then they bombed the entire universe. Like they ruined it.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, he had
but
his chance. I knew he had to do it. They were running out of time.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it was great.
Ooh,
It was a
yeah.
great moment to say it.
It's
It paid off.
perfect.
and all the payoffs at the end, like the quote unquote epilogues
Yeah, the
uh
characters.
of the characters. You know, Cap goes back and he stays, and then he comes back. The whole scene with Sam, where he's
Mm.
like, "It's yours," and it's like, "Yeah, yeah, give him the shield. Fuck yeah!" It's everything's good.
Yeah,
It's
and
just,
now we're seeing even more payoff. Falcon Winter Soldier, which
oh yeah,
has really we're gonna talk about it. We obviously, if you haven't seen our pilot review, go check that out. It is really an amazing show. Like it is just so good.
yeah. At this point of this recording, episode 3, it just came out last week, and
Mm.
oh, it's so good.
It's so
It's
good.
it's fantastic. But yeah, I mean, they do a great job of closing things out, but leaving everything open to continue.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
like a closing of a chapter of the original team, and that's exactly what the universe really needed. It's a
Mm.
little bit of a reset, but it's a replanting the feet in a different spot.
Yeah,
Taking a side step and moving forward from there. So it's good. It's really good. I want to say it's a 9, but it could be a 10. You know?
I'm feeling a strong 10, but that is definitely and again, we're being subjective. It's so biased for me that this is a 10.
Yeah.
Like when we were in the theater, like it was just, I think it is going to be the most like intense group experience in a theater that we're ever going to have. Like I really don't think anything else is going to come close unless, I mean, I guess I should never say never, but like to me, this is our Empire Strikes Back. Like
Mm,
this is our, like it's the end of Star Wars, like episode
yeah.
6 when, Luke fights Darth Vader. Like this is it, you know?
Yeah. It's like a genre defining movie. It's like
Yeah.
you know, I don't want to say it's peak because we never want anything to peak, I guess. But
It's
it's
kind of
it's just
peak.
yeah, it's the great peak if it's a peak.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And you never forget when Cap picked up that goddamn hammer.
Mm.
Woo! That was a yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a 10 time. It's 10 time.
Yeah. I think it's top tier. Top tier.
Yeah.
Throw it above Winter Soldier. Do it.
That's that's kind of what I'm thinking too. I'm thinking it really is like the movie.
It's it.
God damn it! I keep typing in Endgame, and for some reason, there's like 1,000 movies called Endgame, but none of them are Avengers Endgame. So I gotta. Here we go. Yeah, I'm putting it in that number one spot. I really think that it is going to be the thing. And granted, this whole MCU is really the takeaway. I think of the first quarter of the 21st century
Yeah.
in relation to film. Like I think this is going to be the thing that people talk about. Um, it's just
Years
crazy.
down the line, in like
Yeah,
a decade, it's gonna be a huge thing to look back at.
yeah. I mean,
And
honestly,
it
and it
felt like
still
it felt
might
like the
be.
first Avengers was gonna be that.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
they upped it. I mean, honestly, I think this is so pertinent that it like and granted, this was only 2 years ago, but like we're still wondering like where do we go from here? And like
yeah.
we're watching Marvel content literally every week this year, and I'm still asking myself, I'm like, and granted, we haven't, I don't know. I still don't know. Like, where are we going from here? Like, what's the next thing? And they kind of
Yeah.
haven't done that yet. So, like,
It's
whew,
hard to pick up the pieces from such a monumental thing.
yeah, took them freaking almost 12 years to build out everything
Yeah.
that they needed to make one movie.
It almost feels like it's time to get back to, you know, the average, not average, because I know we just talked about 2 average movies, but the everyday kind of street hero.
Yeah.
A Spider-Man, you know.
Oh, yeah. A nice
Uh,
palate cleanser and a good transition.
yes.
This brings us to the final movie of the Infinity Saga.
Yeah.
Uh,
It really should just be the first one in Phase 4, but they
it sh-
tacked it on here.
it should be. I feel like it's a nice. I think they said it was Phase 3 just to honestly make people go see it because I think
Yeah.
it's a really refreshing. Like it's like a nice wind down. Like obviously there's an
Yeah.
epilogue in Endgame, but this movie definitely helps you kind of like reset and like get back into the
The
more like
flow of it.
normal part of the world. Yeah. But obviously, we are talking about Spider-Man: Far From Home. Very exciting. Spider-Man: No Way Home coming out end of this year.
Yes. Yes.
And what are your like immediate thoughts on this one? So obviously, we get Mysterio. We get
Yeah.
like the three giant whatever thingies, the three giant elementals.
Yep.
Colby Smulders is back. Nick Fury's back.
Great additions.
Yeah.
I love the integration of the Shield agents in this. I think
Mm,
it was the right move uh, for Spider-Man to get involved with them,
yeah.
just based off of the way that MCU kind of takes this character. But as a whole, I mean, I've kind of shared the sentiment before, but I never wanted Spider-Man to go overseas and be not in New York. I want Spider-Man in New York.
Yeah, you were talking
Uh,
about it the first episode when we talked to her, the first Spider-Man episode. You wanted
right.
to be a Manhattan man.
I just, I love the setting. It's like there's nothing better for him.
Mm,
But in the context of the story and in the execution of the story, I think it worked out great.
mm.
Um, I wasn't head over heels about the elementals, and I still am not. I don't really care for them.
Yeah, they're pretty useless.
Um, but I think that they make sense also in the context of Mysterio's powers, how he is an illusionist, and they're not really that real. I mean, they are, but they're not. Uh, so I kind of accept them in that sense. Uh, but to top it all off, I think Jake Gyllenhaal is one of the best villains that we've seen in the MCU to date,
Yeah.
as far as solo outings. And good God, do they nail his powers? The sequence where he catches Peter in that abandoned building, and it's like he's making
Yes.
him hallucinate through that
Walks him
was
right
like,
into a train.
yeah, like that entire sequence was not only special effects gold, but that was like straight from the books. Like it's like looking at Zack Snyder's like Frank Miller Batman. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like seeing Ben Affleck in that suit the first time, it's like that's the Frank Miller Batman right off the page. Like that sequence with Mysterio is like that is a Spider-Man Mysterio conflict right off the page. Um,
yeah.
so seeing that and seeing that conflict and seeing how Peter overcame it in the end, where he was like, "This isn't real," and like I can beat you through like my spider senses, and like he dodges and weaves through all the drones. Oh my god, it's so sick. Like, oh,
Yeah.
it's good. It's good shit. Like,
Yeah.
this is the best Spider-Man movie since the original Spider-Man 2, with Tobey Maguire, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
This movie is really good. I love that Nick Fury's back because I really feel like he kind of disappeared for a long time there. So I'm glad
Yeah,
to see he's like getting back into play. I really do love their take on Mysterio. Like I think having him not be like an actual mystical sorcerer and going like full into the Stark tech. Like he used to work at Stark, didn't really like vibe with it, or like him and all of his people that he worked with hate Tony Stark
yeah,
because I guess they like were all military techs and he killed all their military programs.
yeah,
But like I just love that motivation that like Tony left behind all these problems and Spider-Man's going to help. Like he's always trying to like do something that involves Iron Man. I guess like it just haunts him. I
yeah,
like their connection. It makes me just saying that as a side note makes me really really hope that he shows up in Armor Wars because that'd be sick. Or at least one of those characters because like even one of his lackeys probably show up as like a side character in Armor Wars.
sure.
Um, yeah, I just love the take. I do agree Jake Gyllenhaal does like an excellent performance, and I think that it's so great that everybody really wants him. Like when we were talking in the past, like Sinister Six lineups, because everybody thinks it's eventually coming, right? I
Sure.
don't think anyone had Mysterio as like a character on the list, or at least it wasn't one of like the things that people were thinking about.
Right.
And then this movie comes out, and my man's got to be leading the group. Like there's no
Yeah.
way he's not.
I think people could have expected him on the team, but they wouldn't have expected him to be such a front runner on the team.
Yeah.
Uh, and now it really seems that way. And I remember when during the marketing and lead up to this, like the rollout of this movie, they were really pushing hard on like Tom Holland and Jake Gyllenhaal are like best friends. Like they were in
Yeah,
every
that was
interview
also a
together.
great take too. Like when they convinced me that Mysterio was going to be good and from a different dimension, I was like, "That's so hype."
Yeah.
It's
So
a
I
lot of
think
fun.
they built it up to really like reinforce that like relationship and that breaking of that relationship.
Yeah.
To see how Peter is without someone and he needs someone, but he like proves to himself that like I could do it by myself.
Yeah.
To. I don't need the support of Shield or
That's
uh,
the problem. He's looking for another Tony Stark to like fill that mentor role, and now he needs to realize that like it's his time.
yeah. It's just his time to step up,
Yeah.
and it all like fulfills itself really well, and like the ending's good. Like it is kind of a cliffhanger ending, but it feels
Yeah.
good. It feels right.
It does set
Um,
itself up really well. I'm excited to see where they take Spider-Man.
yeah, and I think it would be crazy for them to not bring back Jake Gyllenhaal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, of course, the Spider-Man property is a little bit of a in a bit of a limbo position because it I feel like every 3 to 5 years they're going to have to renegotiate this thing
Uh-huh.
for it to be in the MCU, which is going to be just a nail biting stress, you know, thing that they're going to have to like tackle every
Yeah.
time. Uh, rightfully so though. It's such a huge character. Uh, but I think Thor's getting his fourth movie. I think Spider-Man, Tom Holland.
Has a good
If
chance
they,
for more.
I think he has a good chance for more than three. And I would love it. I think he's really good. He's developing into that character, and I I don't know if they're gonna do Sinister Six in the third movie,
Mm-hmm.
but if they do, I think actually I don't think they're gonna do it. Honestly, I think it's too soon.
I feel like you
Uh,
kind of. I feel like you have to when So if we're doing the big Spider-Man, the three-man blowout, right? If we're having Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire, it's like what villain constitutes all three of them entering the same dimension to do something, right?
right,
And I think it's got to be Sinister Six. Like I feel like it's got to be, Goblin from the first movie. Like Willem Dafoe shows up, and then Rhino shows up from the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and then Vulture and Mysterio join up, and then that's only four people. So we add two more people. Oh, Electro is confirmed for Amazing Spider-Man as well.
right. The Electro from
Yeah.
the Amazing Universe or whatever.
So
Um,
we're already at five, and then Scorpion. Scorpion was kind of low key confirmed in Homecoming. So that's
right.
six. We did it.
Yeah. So there's
Like I feel like you can't. You know what I mean? Like especially knowing Electro's coming in, and all three Spider Men are going to be like, because Electro's not worthy of that. he's
right.
not. He's
I
not
forgot.
worthy of all three of them.
I forgot about all that. How and then Doc Ock is coming back too from the Toby
Oh, fuck,
universe.
you're right. Doc Ock is one of them.
So
It's
it's definitely
Sinister Six time.
yeah. I try to toss all that out of my mind because I really don't want to get myself too hyped up about it, But
Yeah. Well, like I agree that it does feel like it needs a little bit more time to build up to it. But
yeah,
also, if you're Sony and you're Marvel and you realize that, you're going to probably kill each other after this renegotiating the contract, uh,
right.
I think you just got to do it. you
Yeah,
know?
probably.
All
I
right.
agree.
Anyway, let's get back to Spider Man and let's wrap this thing up. I'm thinking it's an 8.
A strong eight. It's a strong eight.
Yeah.
Borderline nine, but I agree with the eight.
Yeah. I think honestly, the elementals just being kind of like, I think that brings it down a little bit for me.
That's true. That's fair.
Spider Man Far From Home. Let's. I spelt it wrong so that it says doesn't exist. Okay, there we go. 2019 John Watts, throwing it all the way up on the list. This brings it automatically to the number 12 spot. Uh, it's probably better than the first Avenger, so I'm gonna throw it up. Is it better than
Mm,
Homecoming? Is this better than the first Spider-Man?
100%. It's better than Homecoming.
No.
100%.
Better than Guardians of the Galaxy? The first one?
Ooh, that's tough. That's actually tough.
Yeah.
Uh, I want to say no. Honestly.
Yeah, I think even though this has a better villain, it's just not as maybe influential would be the word. Like I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy just feels like a more important film.
Yeah.
It feels like it definitely has a more unique flavor to it. Where I agree, like this one, even compared to the first one, I feel like Homecoming has a more distinct vibe and setting with New York. Even though they're in Queens, like you still get the Staten Island ferry and like shots of Manhattan.
Right.
Uh, it really, does feel weird having Spider-Man in Europe. It really does. And granted, even when he went to DC in the first movie, like that was also really weird. It's kind of like okay, like it's
Yeah,
just
I definitely agree.
yeah,
Like, just get back to the bread and butter, please.
yeah. Like even talking about the Sinister Six thing, like for real, if we don't get a shot of all three Spider-Men like swinging into Times Square, like what's the point?
It's gonna happen. It
Yeah.
has to happen.
So we will see what happens. But I am very excited. So that's gonna keep. I think that's gonna put it on the list. It's gonna finish in the number 10 spot,
Yeah,
which finishes out our whole list. All 23 movies that are currently in the MCU, and of course, when Black Widow comes out, I believe in July now,
hmm
we will add it to this list, and we will find a spot for it on the table,
for
and
sure.
and it's just gonna keep growing. But you know, if you guys have been sticking around this long, thank you for watching all 4 episodes, or maybe just jumping out of this back half. We really appreciate it. It's been a real fun, I think, set of content for us.
Yeah, definitely. Let us know if you want to do. We could rank other franchises too, like the DC universe. Even though there's not as much. Uh, Definitely won't be as many parts, of course. But
Nothing goes above a 5.
yeah, it'll be a rough one. But listen, if you want to hear us tank on it, we could do that.
Yeah, I agree. That'd be a good one. I'd be down for that. Star Wars, Mission
Ooh, Star
Impossible.
Wars would be fun.
Yeah. I would say
Yeah,
Harry
definitely.
Potter, but I still have to remember some of those. I'd have to like go back and actually watch them.
We could do a James Bond. That would be. Oof.
That's also 25 movies.
That'd be a long one. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be tough. But yeah, just let us know in the comments. We are definitely down to rank more cinematic universes. I think it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So that has been Cinema Scrutiny. Hope you guys have a fantastic week, and we will catch you next time in our next video.